What is up, guys? It's Verns back here again with another Supercoach video. This time it is the round 3 review. And look, it's probably a good thing I gave it a few days to do this recording because I was fuming at this week. I don't know about you guys, but it was such a rough week. And this was a week that we were targeting to make a move. People had Green out, Rowell, Took, Whitfield. Like, there was a lot of premiums down that we didn't have. And I feel like the team was really set up to take advantage of that. And they just flopped. Everything just went wrong, and I can't tell you how many bad fourth quarters we had. So many times we had a good, 120 score in our sights, plus, and then just no points in the fourth, and it just ruined us. Also, all our trades this week, tonned. We moved out Riley Bonner, 104. We moved out Hayden Young, 132. We moved out Nick Martin, 136. Oh, it was a rough week, and I was very frustrated and very upset at this game. And I know you guys are just thinking, Vern, it's just Supercoach, but I love this game. I love it. It really just, and when you put this much effort into it, and it's just flopping for you, and things just aren't going right, it just stings. So yeah, honestly, tough weekend for me. I mean, look, it was a good weekend in the sense that it was a long weekend, the Easter weekend. Saw a lot of family, had a good weekend, but just I just put my phone away, basically. When things started going wrong, I'm I don't even want to watch the footy anymore. My family was even oh, we can put the footy on the TV or something. And I'm just nah, I'm good. I don't care anymore. Oh, it was rough. It was very rough, very frustrating. And yeah, as you can see, we scored an 1851, which is not a good score. And I can't even believe we went up in ranks, but I guess that's the perk of being this low in the ranks, that it just, even a bad score apparently can still put you up. We cracked the 50k, 49,944. So, I mean, that's cool. Team value isn't quite as high as we wanted it, and just a lot of 50-50 calls that really went wrong. I know you guys are probably sitting there thinking, Vern, you said Nick Martin was a VC option. Why the hell did you trade him out? Well, that is a great question. The answer is, I wanted Tom Powell. If you saw my tweet, you know that I was really going to put Dempsey in my team originally for Sexton, and then I realized I thought I needed to do that to get money to get Luke Ryan, but I realized I didn't need to do that to get the money to get Luke Ryan. I realized that was getting me 40k, but I still had 60k in the bank, so I didn't need to do that trade. So I kind of reversed out of it, and I was oh, I can just hold 20k and hold a boost. That's not bad. And then I realized, but I could also get Tom Powell. And then when I was weighing up my options to get Tom Powell, I mean, there was only two guys that stood out to me. And as you can guess, I made the wrong call, but it was Zach Fisher or Nick Martin. I know. It's just so frustrating because we know Nick Martin's a good player, but he's been playing shit, where Zach Fisher is not the greatest footballer and sort of playing at the level we expected. But when I looked at them, I kind of looked at the break-even game. Nick Martin, 26 break even, and then Zach Fisher had just a 60 break even. And I know that I'm hey, Nick Martin's a VC option because if he gets it together, he could be a 150 plus, which you'd say that I'm thinking, hey, he could potentially break that break even. Definitely thought that. But I also then thought about, what about the worst case scenario? What happens when he comes out and drops a 75 in this game and I have to trade him next week and he's dropped 40k with it? That's going to ruin a lot of my plans for next week that I have sort of lined up. So there's where, Zach Fisher, there's a good chance he's probably going to get relatively close to that break-even and a worst-case scenario. So I sort of played the break-even game where I'm hey, if Nick Martin flops, it's going to do a lot of damage. Where if he goes big, it sucks, but I guess I can work through it. I'll be honest, it was still the correct trade, looking at those reasonings that I did what I did, but just it just hurt so much to see that. Hayden Young fell into the same boat where, as I mentioned, I'm man, we could hold him, he could definitely come good, but what happens if he flops again? What happens when he drops to 70, he loses 40k, and I have to trade him next week? And we decided that, hey, let's not put ourselves in that position where we could get absolutely burnt off holding these guys, because last year we held Doherty, and he burnt us all year long. We traded them out, played the break-even game, and they went massive, and they stung. They stung so hard. I mean, look, Powell made a lot of money, so you can't be too upset. He made 60k. He did score 43, 44 less points, so Hurts this week, but it was probably the right play in the long term. The only way these plays work out as being the wrong play is if Nick Martin becomes a keeper defender. That would really sting. And I did mention with Young, like with his poor scores in his system, even if he comes good, he's not going to become out of price range too quickly. You know, if he puts together another good score against Adelaide and it looks like this is the Young that we thought we were going to get, it's not too hard to get him back into the side. He's only at 500k. So, I mean, risk versus reward, it just seemed like the reward wasn't worth the risk. But look, it might be proved wrong there. We've also had a bit of injury news come out since there, so Hall will be missing more games, and this is so annoying. I mean, look, I know everyone's living with this, but just like, let's look at defender rookies that have got injured already. So we've got Hall, we've got Reed, we've got Gibkiss, we've got McDonald, we've got Warner, we've got Caulfield. I mean, that's 6 right there. 6 viable rookie defenders gone. And then the ones that we're left with, Pink, hasn't been very good. Unfortunate. And House also dropped to 26. So just like, it just really is a mess in this backline. And I've wasted so many trades just sidewaysing rookies to other rookies that just keep getting injured. And it's very frustrating. And yeah, look, this really burnt me not going a bit heavier in the defense and having to field more rookies. Because they're all just dropping like flies. And obviously that's hindsight. I can't take that into account, but it's just rough. And as you can also see, I lost rookie roulette a bit here. I did have Roberts sitting on the bench. Woohoo! Wow, that's amazing. He outscored literally 2 of my mid-prices and met 2 of my premiums. And he's on my bench. That's annoying. We also had Gorn destroy us. Can't do much about that. It's just been a rough week. And look, Wines is injured, and I actually wanted to be moving somebody with this 200k. Like, I wanted to make an upgrade somewhere, and one of the things I can definitely take into account, like, I could go through all these players, but it's pretty late in the week. You guys have probably already watched a lot about these players. I guess something I will go over quickly is just the fourth quarter burns. Liberatore 90, on track for at least 120 plus, subbed off. It's not really his fault, but just like, goddamn. Tim English 110, looking at like a 145 plus against the West Coast. Why did I say the West Coast? I was going to say the Wet Toast, and then I kind of pulled out of it. But yeah, just 14-point final quarter. Are you kidding me? Like, it's still not the worst option, but like, that just sucks. Also, fun fact, if I took Luke Ryan's VC, the 6 points doesn't seem like much, but in my mates league, I would have had a tie, which would have been pretty cool. But instead, I just went ahead and lost. But yeah, fourth quarter, English just blew up as well, which sucks. Max Holmes. Oh, this one stings because Max is doing so well, and I actually love Max Holmes' game. When he gets involved in Geelong's game, he is electric. He leads to direct scores. Like, there was multiple times he got it, and he ran, and he hand passed, and he got it back, and he hand passed, and he got it back, and then he delivered inside, and they scored. Like, there was one time where he should have got it back, and I blame Stengel for this. He kind of got in the way and like ducked under the ball and then got fumbled and went out of bounds, and I blame Stengel for that. That was definitely going to be a smooth transition. Saying that, off the inbound, Holmes got it, kicked it inside, and they got a goal off it anyway. But it's like Holmes touching the ball leads to direct score. And it's just, he's so good and he's so electric. But he ain't a wet weather player, honestly. And the second it started belting down with rain, and then they had to delay the game for 20 minutes, and it'd been like 40 minutes because of the lightning, I was like, this ain't it. Holmes is going to have an awful fourth. I can see it coming. And maybe it wouldn't have been an awful fourth, but he got called for running too far. I think technically the term is traveling, which just sounds funny to say, but he ran too far with the ball, and I get it, it was wet weather, so you're a bit more hesitant to bounce the ball. That really stung, because that's the difference of him getting a kick, could even be an effective long kick, and maybe it even leads to a score or a goal assist. But instead he gets minus 4 points to the clanger. Like, you know, add 4, 88. Add the kick, probably 92. Potential other points that could be on top of that, he could have pushed, 95 plus. And that's just how devastating that one clanger was. And I was like, no, you're bloody kidding me that happened. So he could have salvaged a good score, but yeah, had 8 points in the final. That's as much as Libba got, and Libba was sitting on the goddamn bench. So that stung. Wines, 96. He was on 90, I'm pretty sure, going into this fourth. And then there was also one time where the game's on the line and someone kicks a ball along the ground and it heads straight towards Wines. And you just see him put his foot and hand down and it just goes between them. And you're like, God damn. And then someone kicks it off the ground and it goes straight back past him again. Oh, man, if he could have just got his hands on that. Even if he just a pop shot at goals, like, that could have been insane points. But it just wasn't his fourth. So, I mean, there's 4 players right there that burnt me in the fourth. Stewart wasn't too bad in the fourth. He was also like 76. Went off with the potential concussion and then came back for 23. So I can accept that. That's fine. I think those were the main ones that burnt me in the fourth. So yeah, just really, really demotivating when that was happening. Just players so close to big scores and then just not quite getting it. And I thought at the start of this week that I was set up for a massive one. Because, Nick Dacos, pretty average. Like, if anything, kind of subpar. Sheasel did pretty well and he's pretty highly owned. That's fine. But then you had a lot of other highly owned players that didn't do quite that well, or at least average. And I was like, man, this is set up for my triple dog dares to go all 140 plus on the Eagles. And none of them hit it. Like, just really sucks. And then Gorn, as I said, also towed us up on the Saturday night. And at that point, Butters came with the bad score, Wines came with the bad score, and at that point, I was sitting there like, this ain't it. And I mentioned this last week too, but like these rookies, as I mentioned, I sort of almost want them to get closer to these 70, 80s, which these boys did because they're highly owned, and everyone getting their scores on field to cover these mid-prices that I have isn't as good. I'd much rather them get lower scores, mid-price, obviously high scores. But as I said, Roberts as well with the 98. Like, those uber rookies are just burning me not having all 3 of them on field. Like, I mean, look, obviously hindsight's 2020. You can see pretty basically the structure. If you did 5 midfield premiums / elevated premiums, like a Crouch and like a Steele maybe, and then you added together like these Bontempellis. Butters is fine. If you went for like a Strong, a Green, that ended up being perfectly fine because he scored enough to match these guys in 2 games. Or like a Merit or something like that would have been premiums, like 5 premiums there, 2 premiums in the ruck, probably 2 in the forward line, so that puts you the 9, and then 3 premiums in defense for 12. So probably a 12 premium structure like that would have been super ideal, assuming you're running D'Ambrosio and Williams at D4 and D5. That would have been like a perfect structure in hindsight, but yeah, it's not the case. And if anything, we probably built the work structure for this because of how damaging McKercher, Sanders and Roberts have all been sitting on our bench. So yeah, super painful week. I'm very upset at it. Sorry the video got out so late. I gotta be honest, I was pretty upset Monday night, and the missus had work early. Tuesday, I was still pretty upset, and I just couldn't be bothered getting out of bed and doing it, so I just didn't. And then the missus had work early again, so I didn't do it that night. And yeah, I actually got myself out of bed and got it done now, and not happy about it. But look, we'll look at our trades, we'll look at our captaincies. I'm just going to quickly mute my mic as I need to cough real bad. I'm pretty sure this is the mute. Oh. Okay, great, didn't blow up your eardrums. Really need some water. Should have brought some water in here. But yeah, frustrating week for us. Frustrating, I guess, the way the team's going. And look, with Wines out for a game, it's even more painful because the whole point of Wines was to get to round 12, match Green's score, and then slip down to like a Green or a Goulden or a Dunkley or whatever premium he ended up being. And right now, he's matched Green's score. So he's done his job, but then you got to count in that Greens has probably had a rookie covering him, and he's probably had a Roberts or a Sanders or a McKercher. So probably 70 points plus. So he probably lost out by 70 points on the Wines over Green. Yeah, I saved 150k or whatever. But let's look back at round 1. What did I do with that 150k? The answer is I lost points. I went up from Gorn to Ting English, lost me points. I went up from McKercher to Bonner, lost me points. So in reality, if you just lock in someone like a Green, it meant that I didn't have all this money to do stupid upgrades that just didn't work out. I mean, saying that, Bonner bounced back. I mean, hindsight again, Bonner did have a 10 break even, so you're still going to make money. If I was going to do this break even game, I probably should have kept Bonner and moved, I forgot his name, Martin, and kept Bonner to a degree, but Because even if he had with his 10 break even, even if he was bad, it didn't matter. Like, Martin should have gone down to McGovern, and it shouldn't have really mattered that much. How do I get Powell then at that stage? I guess it gets a bit hard there, but yeah, just super frustrating. Now this week, Darcy is obviously a massive target, so if we are just going to have a cheeky look at players' break-evens before we jump into it. Also, I think what's important here to be looking at averages, not total points, because you have players that have played more games, and even when you look at total points, you need to take into account that Green's 130-something doesn't actually count. But yeah, you can see that we don't have a lot of these top guys, and if anything, we brought Luke Ryan in late, so can't really count that. Yeah, Butters, English, it's really not that bad, and Gorn will miss a game, but it really does suck, unfortunately. McGovern actually had a good week too, but look, let's be honest, he can't string together more than 10 games. It wasn't really worth the punt. Even if it works out this week, doesn't mean it's going to work out for the rest of the season, where Ryan will probably work out. Yeah, Sam Darcy, break even, insane. Yes, I know he's got 100 in his cycle that's going to cycle out next week, and his cash gen's probably going to drop to shit. Even if we have a quick look at his money-making potential, what does it have him at? So if he comes out with a 42 this week, 60, and then a 40 next week, only 14k. So you're not making that much money if he comes out with 2 back-to-back 40s. Saying that, Geelong's ruck line are weak as hell. And I think he can honestly do pretty well into probably Essendon. Obviously, got to keep your eye on what's happening with Lobb. He's torn it up in the VFL, so he's definitely someone that you need to be careful of, that he doesn't come in and just push Darcy out. But I think we do need to bring Darcy in at the end of the day. It's too much of a instant injection of cash that you just have to do it. Speaking of injections, I do appreciate all that have subscribed to my channel for their consistent injections of Supercoach content directly into the YouTube into the YouTube feed, and then also those that have liked the video and have even just stuck through all my ranting right now, because I'm a mad boy. I'm so sorry to everyone, but Supercoach really lets me wear my emotions on my sleeves, because I love this game and I can't help it. So Darcy ends up being sort of a must-have. And then what ends up happening here is we still have 200k, so we could be looking at like the best player. The problem is, who am I moving out for Darcy? If I do click on my Supercoach Plus, the best person to sort of move out is Wilson, but even moving Wilson out is like 40k banked. Like, is it really that worth it? If Wilson comes good in the next few weeks and Darcy ends up, dropping 240s, he makes 70k, but then what? Wilson ends up being someone we need to get back in? Doesn't make sense to be sidewaysing rookies this early, so I need to be almost looking at someone with a worse break even than that, and sort of the only person standing out is Jordan. It sucks. Like, yeah, it could be an option. What I will go through, what I'm looking at, and something I was actually considering before this round even started, because God, do I want Jack Steele in my team. He just looks so good. He's coming into Richmond, who suck, and they just let Heaney drop a 148 on them. They're playing at Norwood Oval, which is a tiny ground. It's going to suit Jack's style. He's going to tear up like a 150, I feel. And look, I'm not going to captain him, because I think there's just slightly better captain options earlier in the week. But I want Jack Steele so bad. The thing is, I have 200k though, and with Wines going down, it means that this trade, because originally I was going to look at Fisher into Steele and then kind of blow up my structure again. But if we do look at going Wines out, he didn't just go straight to Jack Steele, and that's very nice. The other thing though is I could bolster like my defense. Like, we know Caulfield and Hoare are gone for a bit. I could technically bring in a rookie, or I could flip someone like a Reed up to the midfield. That then allows me to bring in, why am I hitting filter, Darcy down here. And then that gives me technically 500k to use anywhere to fix up my structure. And what this means too is I get those Uber rookies on field. I get the triple Uber rookie threat, which, as I talked about, that's kind of the best comp on field. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good in reality. I'd probably switch these guys around. I'd probably put Sexton on field. Yeah, something cheeky like this. Oh, actually, I don't want Lazaro. Yeah, we probably just go Wilson. Emergency. I mean, Livingston E literally doesn't matter this week, because he plays same time as Sydney. So unless I'm using something before that. But what this does is I could then, as I said, I can bolster up my defense and get these triple defenders down there. It means I'm no longer relying on these bad rookies. Because what's going to happen this week is I'm going to have to field Pink and Howes. That sounds awful. That's literally the worst fielding both of those guys. But if I go ahead and bolster my defense line by upgrading Caulfield, that's pretty good. That forces one of them off field, and I still get a premium elsewhere. Kind of fixes up the structure a bit. But I want Jack Steele. I really, really want Jack Steele. I know that's probably not the logical thing to say, but I want Jack Steele. I do. I want him. And I could move out of Jordan right now, move Wilson back down, bring Jack Steele in. Is it the worst? Is it the worst? Maybe. Maybe not. The problem is Jordan's also in the West Coast, and there's a good chance with a good game here he could really restart his cash gen. But he ends up being a trade next week, where a lot of these players, it's like, I don't want to trade them this week or next week. So he sort of ends up in, who would I trade next week? I'd probably end up trading Jordan. So if I trade Jordan, I can bring in Jack Steele. And that'll make me really happy. I really want Jack Steele this week. And when he goes 150 plus and I don't own him, I am going to be livid. Oh, Steele over Ollie. What a starting pick. What a starting pick. And the thing is, I think Steele could generally be a top 8 midfielder. So you could say I'm kind of dancing with the devil a bit, having a Steele and a Crouch, two of these guys that are maybe an M8 role, but not quite there. But I just think he's going to do so much for his price. And the other thing to consider here too is you might be sitting there thinking, well, if you think he's top 8, Vern, I could bring in a rookie and make maybe 150k right now. But if I bring in Jack Steele, who I think's worth a top 8 spot, probably 100k underpriced, potentially, that's already 100k that I make by bringing in an underpriced premium. So does it really matter if I bring in a rookie if I'm going to bring in an underpriced premium who's underpriced by potentially 100k? Might as well just do that, right? Now, I'm sorry about the rain. Y'all can probably hear that. I can't really do anything about that. It's just happening, and it's been raining all week, so, really didn't have a better time to do this. Oh, I want Jack Steele so bad. Oh, man, you're all going to hate me for this, but I want to go the Jack Steele route. I want to get Jack Steele in my side. Lazaro, get on back down there. Where is my boy? And let's put Jack Steele in that team. Okay, cool. Works out. I mean, I still have 346k to play with. I can still upgrade one of these guys. And the thing is, I'll put McKercher to the bench. And this might also, once again, seem a little bit weird to you guys, but the thing with McKercher is that they're playing at Norwood Oval, once again, a tiny ground, not suited for outside players, so it's not really going to be a great week for probably Wilson, probably for McKercher, probably for Fisher. Probably not a great week for those guys. So I probably want those guys on the bench. I could probably get away with McKercher on the bench this week. We do have Sydney at Adelaide Hills. I don't actually know the size of that oval. I'm going to assume it's one of the smaller ovals also. Just because usually when it's not the main oval, or it's one of these, when you go to like Ballarat and stuff like that, when you go to these like, I guess, not mainstay ovals of the state, they're usually a little bit smaller for club footy. So it's probably the case. But, you know what, I want to punt Roberts into West Coast. He's been really good. And then, yeah, this brings up the question of, do I boost right now? Because I want to really be saving these boosts to be doing upgrades. But you could almost call this an upgrade at this point. You could say this is an early upgrade for me in the season. I love Steele. I want to take the punt on Steele. Let's look at an early upgrade. How much money can Hoare really get us? And that might seem weird getting Hoare out of our side, but he's got like that 20 in his cycle. What's his break even at? Okay, I can't do it right now. Let's go back real quickly. Let's click on him over here. So he's break even, it's 21. Even if he comes back and he has an average game, he's not going to make that much cash, and then we can always jump back on him as a rookie downgrade, potentially, if he ends up being worthwhile. The other thing with Hoare is he might get kicked out of the side. He might come back in 3 to 4 weeks and not even get named. So that's a problem. I know that you're all looking at Caulfield being like, man, why aren't you trading out Caulfield? First of all, a little bit less money on Caulfield, so it makes it a little bit harder. It's just not quite enough money to really do anything with this, is it? I don't want to Clark. Don't want to go for a short. Let's look at the averages. Yeah, I mean, any player I generally want, I want to pay up for. I mean, technically I'm in Nas range, but Nas is playing at a bad oval this week for his game style. Don't really want to do that. And yeah, I gotta be honest, I look at the defender premiums, and I kind of hate most of them. Like, unless I'm looking at a Sheasel, that's a good one. Dacos after his bye. And then where else are we really going? I know a lot of people sort of jumping on Whitfield, so he could be an option. Later on down the lines, I almost would like to take a step back and kind of watch this defense line unfold. That's the problem. There's nobody really jumping out to me right now. Yeah, nobody jumping out to me right now that I kind of want in this defense line. So it might be weird, but maybe I'm just doing the 2 trades right now. As I said, Caulfield is actually someone I want to keep as a loophole. And that might seem weird to you guys once again, but Livingston doesn't work as a loop this week because I want to be VCing Heaney into West Coast. And you can't VC when your loophole's playing in the same game. That doesn't make any sense. But then we also have English into Geelong. Like, that's pretty good if he ends up against Conway. I mean, Stanley's obviously there too, but they're usually pretty good at giving up big, bulk, ruck points. So I'm kind of considering that as well. Now, really, the only final thing I could do with this 300k is, as I mentioned, someone who's probably touted for a bad game this week is Zach Fisher. It means I can move to literally anyone. I mean, I can move Wilson down and get a premium in the midfield, but then once again, I'm pushing these uber premiums to the sideline, and I hate that. I don't mind the idea of going early on Miller, though. I think Miller could honestly be top 8. Something I once again need to consider. Could go down to Miller, hold some cash to be able to get Dacos in not too long. Could just go straight to a green right now. Could go straight to a green. I mean, what's Green's break even at currently? He's got an 85 break even. That's pretty good. Pretty good. What's he set up for? Adelaide Hills, which, as I said, I'm going to assume that's probably a naturally smaller ground. He's probably going to pump Gold Coast. Then they're at home against St Kilda. Green could definitely be an option. Definitely be an option. I mean, if I get Green in now, as I mentioned, it's kind of a little bit rough in the sense. So we take that 130 out of his cycle. Technically, he got 200 and... My brain's cooking. 279 points. I think technically Wine's got 290 something points. But then, as I said, with the rookie cover, technically Green made more. What else did I do with that money? I lost points on the rest of the ground, so that kind of sucks. I don't know, I hate chasing my tail here. I hate chasing Green in this situation, and I'd love to look at Green as a round 12 upgrade option then, once he's had his extra game, but it is 9 games away before that bye. But I could technically bring in someone who doesn't have a bye before Green, and then flip to Green afterwards. So it could be a Miller who's not going to have another bye before Green, and then upgrade to Green afterwards, where I'm pretty sure Miller's got this awkward... Not awkward, but he's got the round 15 bye, I'm pretty sure. No, he's got round 14 bye, actually. So he's also some... No, we have round 12, 13, 14 and 15. So I've really got to make that decision. I guess that's what I'm tossing up right now. Do I go Fisher, kind of ruin my structure again and force, I guess, Sanders to the bench and run with Roberts? End up with a lot of speculative midfield picks where it's like, man, is Toot going to be top 8? Is Steele going to be top 8? Is Crouch going to be top 8? Like, put myself in a little bit of that question mark territory. I don't want to go Merritt into Power. There's a good chance Drew will just follow him around all day. But then we do have, as I mentioned, Green as well. Sarong could be someone we look at. A little bit late to the party there, but definitely could be. Blues is a harder midfield, though. And then Power as well at home. Could get followed around by Drew. Maybe we look at getting him on this Optus run, if that's a possibility. Yeah, sorry, I've been really rambling on for a while, but this is like such a hard decision what to do with all this extra money if I was to like move these players out. I guess something else to consider that I didn't actually think of before. Let's just reset this. Sorry, I did think about it earlier, and I was wondering why I was a little bit lax on money when I was looking at my defense line. Let's quickly just reverse Jordan. I think was using Fisher's money a little bit earlier. So Fisher and Jordan basically same break even. I've got a little bit more faith in Jordan doing better than Fisher this week, though. So probably better coverage. So if we actually go Fisher out instead, a little bit more money. So then if we go Hoare out... Yeah, there we go. That works. I was wondering why I was a little bit short on cash when I was looking at this earlier. Doesn't quite get me the Whitfield, though. I think what I was looking at this is almost a McGovern range, which I fucking hate because he's not going to play every game, and it would have been better to get him last week if I was going to do this, like in reality. He's got a good Optus run coming up, though. That could be a real punt. That could be a real big punt. Put myself into a really speculative finishing pick. But if he comes good, he could save my season. Because nobody else has said I really like. Who are we looking at? So, Ryan, Stewart, Sheasel, Dacos, their top 4. Then maybe a Whitfield. Maybe a McGovern. Maybe a Powell. Maybe a Houston. Maybe a Sicily comes back. I would almost like to sit back and watch how this unfolds a bit. The only other thing with Jeremy McGovern, which I probably should have taken into account last week, actually, how much money did Ryan make? It might not make a difference. 47k, 32k. So I technically lost 15k, but I made 10 extra points this week. That's not too bad. Is that with McGovern having such a good break even, there's a chance that he could get up to 600k, and if he gets injured at 600k, that's kind of what we, like, as bad as it sounds, but that's what we look at with these mid-prices. We look at them to make hopefully 100, maybe a little bit more, 100 plus k, 150k, and we look at palming them off. If McGovern has 100k in him, which he may have with the way he's playing, then if he gets injured when he's already popped out of 90, is it really the worst case? If he can average me like a 110, get injured on like a 90, so average like 110, make 100k, that's kind of as good as a mid-pricer. So is it really that high of risk? I think this would be a high risk if you didn't have so much money potentially to make on top of him. So maybe this was the play last week. And something I did look at, because I went and checked it out at DFS Australia, but he has all the kickouts. And I know our Lord and Saviour, the Codfather, not our actual Lord and Saviour, but the Codfather has been looking at McGovern. I did look at him last week. I even asked DR about him, and they were like, look, you got to have some real cojones. But Codfather did mention that there was a post that McGovern went overseas, he worked on his body, and he's never felt like more comfortable in his body ever before. So it's a real risky punt, but what happens if McGovern doesn't get injured? We've also got Hearn out of the side. We've got Witherin out of the side. All these other defenders, because there's usually a lot of point sharing with West Coast. All those other defenders are gone. McGovern's getting a lot of the points that are there. He's getting all the kick-ins as well. I remember checking that out last week and seeing he had all the kick-ins, but then I saw Luke Ryan had all the kick-ins, which was a little bit frustrating this week that Clark kept stealing them from him, but to be fair, Clark kept kicking it to him anyway, and I think that's the same thing with McGovern. Duggan takes him, but still kicks him to McGovern, so it doesn't really matter. So, I think I might be insane, and this might be the dumbest thing I've done. But let's look at my team. It's 50k. If I follow the trends that are going on, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I am not going to catch the pack. I'm probably just going to fall further into the abyss. I got two options here. Take a massive punt and try and make a push, or just get a mediocre rank. Maybe this ends up blowing up my season and it ends up being a mediocre rank to a terrible rank. But what's really the difference? I've said it before. What's really the difference between finishing 5k and 30k? There's not really much of a difference, is there? Because, doesn't mean anything. Maybe it means something to your ego, but I'm not going to feel great about 5k. I'm not going to feel any better about 30k, so does that really matter? But if I take a punt and I can push top 1k, that'd be pretty sick. Alright, enough rambling for this video. I've gone for way, way too long, and I'm so sorry to everyone that's stuck around, but let's take a punt. Let's put him in. Let's put him bloody in. Whew, that seems a bit risky, but we're doing it. Now, what have we really done with the boost? Because we really did want to improve the team. We did go Fisher, who's not a keeper, to potentially McGovern, who's a keeper. That's not bad. I can do that. Let's just do a punt with the E as well, because yes, as much as Caulfield is my loophole, let's look at it. If House comes out and pumps out like a 12, perfect. We will just put Pink on field, and then maybe I can look at doing a Butters VC into an English or something like that. I can look at an earlier VC in a worst case scenario. If we can't take House school. Hiles comes out, pops out a 60, perfect. We leave it out as good game this week. Awesome. So that's the easy punt there. As I said, I'm going to put these outside players on the bench. I kind of want to put Reed on field over maybe Lazaro. Darcy at Adelaide Oval, I kind of want to punt him there. Back him, sorry. Maybe we get Lazaro here. Maybe I do it like this. I don't have any loopholes here, so if Lazaro comes out with another decent score, I just got to accept it. But I think Reed's getting into gear. Smaller oval. Yeah, I'm gonna back in Reed. Let's back in Reed here. Why not? I think that looks pretty good. Happy with McKercher on the bench. Happy with Wilson on the bench. I'm so glad we held Clark. He's bounced back so good. Hopefully these defender rookies can get it a bit together, and the structure is a lot better this way. We've kind of set up that premium structure that I mentioned. We don't quite have the 2 forward premiums, but that's okay. That's okay. Looks like Darcy's going to come back earlier than expected, so it might punish some of those Jackson holders. And another good thing for us is really going to punish those that also started Naismith as well. But Conway could be an upgrade next week, and we could easily flip Livingston down, bring Conway in, and then he covers Grundy's bye week, which would be really sick. Not really sure who I'd go down. Oh, yeah, Jordan's going down next week. So Jordan goes down next week, Conway in, banks a bunch of cash. Could I look at another upgrade? Sorry, I was meant to be talking about this week's trades. So let's have a bit of a look as to what we've actually done here. We've gone a rookie out for a rookie in, so sort of a sideways. We've done Wines, which in my opinion isn't a keeper, to Steele, who's a keeper in my opinion, so that you could call that an upgrade. And we've gone Fisher, who isn't a keeper, to McGovern, who I'm going to call a keeper. I'm going to bank him in. So we've kind of done 2 mid-prices to 2 keepers. So we've improved the team. We've made upgrades. We've made progression. And this team looks better. It looks better. I'm happy with how that looks. You can stop taking these iffy defender scores. Yeah, a little bit of rookie roulette we're going to be playing with McKercher. And look, I have so much faith in Holmes. He's actually such a gun. This sucks that he didn't quite get the monster score that we wanted and these break-evens high. I'm going to back him in to come back. I still think he's got at least 70k in him. At least. And then he's going to get that defensive DPP. Last week he started a lot on the wing, and I thought, oh no, he's not going to get that. This week he started a lot off halfback, so got to monitor that. But if he ends up as a 550k player, he could end up as our 23rd player swingman between midfield and defense, and usually want a high variance player for that. I think he can be a high variance player. I think these 290s, he got a 90 last week and an 80 last week, but I think he has the scope to go 130 plus. I think he's good enough to do it. It's usually injury riddles that stop him, and even in this game that just came, he had his ankle being worked on, but I'm going to back in Holmes. I'm going to hold him. He's going to cover my defense later on when we get this. I guess that's the only other thing to consider is, do I really need to bolster my defense in the sense that Roberts, McKercher, Sexton, I can flip a lot of these rookie defenders back there later on and actually bolster my defense that way. But right now for this best 22, it's going to hurt. For probably the next best 18s, it could be a little bit rough. Yeah, stuff it. We're backing it in. This is what we're doing. Team actually looks Gucci. I thought that at the start of the season, and then it all went horribly wrong. So we'll see how it goes. Wish me luck, guys. I hope all of your weeks went much better than mine. I hope that maybe you're able to save your boosts and improve your team. I hope that you had a great total score for the week. Yeah, tell me about it, guys. Tell me also if I'm being mad with these trades. Tell me if you think Steele and a keeper, get out of the pick. McGovern, that's stupid, Vern. Tell me about it. Tell me if I should just go straight to a green. But, look, I'm going to stick strong with it. But I'd love to hear your feedback. Anyway, till next time, guys. Peace. Later.